Hello everyone, welcome to the first lesson of Persian for You. Today we will learn how to read the Persian alphabet. Then we will learn about the short vowels and long vowels. And finally, we will learn about the letter Alef and the sounds that this letter can have. So let's start with reading the alphabet. Now I will read the alphabet one by one. Under each letter you can see what is the Latin equivalent of each letter that I wrote in capital letters, so you can have an idea of how each letter sounds like. Starting from the right side of the screen. Alef, B, P, T, S, Jim, ç, ه، خ، دال، زال، ر، ز، ژ، سین، شین، صاد، زاد، تا، زا، عین، غین، ف، قاف، کاف، گاف، لام، میم، نون، واو، ه، ی. So as you might have noticed, in the alphabet we didn't have any vowels, we only had consonants. Basically, Persian has two types of vowels, the long vowels and the short vowels. Let me first draw these three lines. These lines basically represent letters. So for the short vowels, we have A, E, O. As you can see, for A, we add this sign above a letter. For E, we add the same sign under a letter. And for O, we add this sign above the letter. Let's start with the letter Alef, because you might also have noticed that we didn't give any examples of how the letter Alef sounds like. That is because the letter Alef can produce various vowels. It can produce the sound of short vowels and long vowels, depending on which signs we use for the letter Alef. So let's say we have Alef, which is a straight, simple, vertical line. And if we add A, so this sign above the letter, it would make it sound like A. For example, the name Amir, which is very common in Iran. And if we have Alef again, and if we add the same sign under the letter, it would make it sound like E. For example, estakh, the word for pool. And if we have the letter Alef again, and if we add this sign above the letter, it would make it sound like O. For example, the name Omid. Omid. So let me give you other examples with other words now. Let's say we have the second letter of the alphabet, B. If we add this sign to it, it would make it sound like Ba. Here, B, Bo, Ba, be, bo. Let's say we have the letter se or sin, sa, se, so. Now about the long vowels. We have three long vowels. A, I, U. As you can see, all of these long vowels come with the letter Alef, but we can add these long vowels to other letters as well. But let's start with the letter Alef. So here you can see that we add this sign above the letter Alef, and it would make it give the sound A, as in the word Aseman, which means sky in Persian. And here, if we add ye to the letter Alef, this is ye, right, in the alphabet, the last letter of the alphabet. This would make it sound like E. I would say we could use two or double E in English. And here, if we add V, the letter V or Vav to Alef, it would make it sound U. Now let's try with other letters. Let's say we have the letter B, but here we don't have to write the letter B completely. We have to cut it in half actually, because when we add another letter to the letter B or to the letter B or many other letters, that would change how it looks like. But don't worry about these rules right now. I'm just explaining a little bit so that you don't get confused why you don't write the letter B completely. There are rules that you would learn them in the next coming lessons, but don't worry about them right now. So if we have the letter B and we want to make it sound like ba, we have to add Alef to the letter B. And why didn't we use this sign here? That is because the letter A is now added to another letter or is attached to another letter. That's why we don't have to use, and actually it is kind of forbidden to use in terms of spelling. It is forbidden to use this sign when we add A to another letter. Again, don't worry about these rules right now. We will explain them in the next coming lessons. And here we have B again, and we want to add Ye to this letter to make it sound from B to B. And here we have B again, and we add V to make it sound from B to Bu. Let's say we have Se. Again, we write the letter Se or Sin differently because we have to attach another letter, which is in this case is Alef, to it. So Sa. Again, we don't use this sign anymore because it is attached to another letter. Si, Su. Sa, Si, Su. So I wanted to explain some important points about the letter Alef. So we explained we have A, E, O for short vowels and A, I, U for the long vowels. Remember, there is one thing that you need to remember. When we have the letter Alef in the middle of a word, it always gives the sound A. Always. So, for example, let's say we have the word sal, the word for year. Here you can see that we have alef in the middle of the word. Here, it doesn't mean anything. It's nonsense if we add a or e or o. We cannot add any of these signs to alef when it comes in the middle of a word. We only add them, add a, e, or o to alef. We only could do that only if the alef comes in the beginning of the word. So if we have the word sal, it doesn't come with any signs, and it always gives the sound ah, sal. Okay, because these signs only comes or only can be added to alef only if the alef comes in the beginning of the word. For example, in the word Amir or in the name Amir. Here you can, because the alef comes in the beginning of the word, you can add a or e or o to this letter to make different kind of sounds. But again, sal or any other word that the letter alef comes in the middle, or from the middle I mean when it's not in the beginning. That's what I mean. So basically when the letter alef is attached to another letter. So here you can see that alef is attached to the letter se or sin, and that's why it would make it sound ah, sal. And that's why here, when we have the sound ah in the starting or in the beginning of a word, like aseman, that's why we add this sign to make it clear, or to indicate that we want to give the sound ah in the beginning of the word. Why? It's because here you can see that alef comes also attached to another letter in the middle of the word aseman, and that would automatically give the sound ah. We don't need to add any signs to it. But in the beginning of the word, when we want to give the sound ah, we always have to use this sign to indicate it, that we want to give the sound ah, aseman. And congratulations everyone, you made it. This is the end of the lesson 1. Today we learned how to read the alphabet, we learned about the vowels, and we learned all the sounds that the letter alef has. But remember that today we only learned the basics of the Persian letters. There are still very important things that you need to learn in order to be able to read and write words in Persian. The next couple of lessons will be about writing and reading the letters in 4 positions, and basically about how to attach or connect letters to each other to make up words. Because in Persian, the letters of a word are connected to each other, and this would change the shape of these letters depending on where in the word they are located. But yeah, well done so far, and I hope to see you in the next lessons. Take care, and don't forget to practice. See you.